Our film starts with Tim, a video game designer. We see him on a work call with his colleagues, who tell him that their last project has a lot of bugs and that the company refuses to postpone the deadline because they're bound by a contract and he has to help them. Suddenly, the connection fails and the call drops. At that moment, Tim starts to remember when his girlfriend, Olivia, was pregnant. It becomes clear that they lost the baby, and it's taken a heavy toll on him. He snaps back to reality, trying to get rid of a fly he's trapped in a cup. He takes it outside the window, but the fly escapes and gets back inside the house. Tim goes to wash his face, clearly disoriented and confused. He keeps seeing flashes from the day they lost their daughter. Just then, Olivia arrives and calls out to him several times, but he doesn't hear her. He finally snaps to attention and tells her she startled him. Olivia apologizes, sensing he's not doing well, but he assures her he's fine. She asks him to go down with her because she wants to show him something. As they go downstairs, they run into their neighbor, Anton, who greets them. After that, they meet Friedman, their landlord, who reassures them that the workers will finish the renovations soon. At that moment, Tim sees helicopters, and Friedman tells him there's a huge fire in the nearby city of Haven. The smoke is so thick it's visible from where Tim is standing. Friedman continues, thanking them for their patience with the building renovations over the past 3 months and promising that things will get better soon. Olivia then shows Tim the new car she just bought and suggests they leave right now and travel to Paris so they can arrive in the morning, have breakfast at Café de Flore, and then continue their trip to anywhere. The important thing is that they get a fresh start. Olivia surprises him by telling him she quit her job because she needed a break and thinks he needs one too. Tim tells her he remembers his promise, but he can't just leave his job like that, assuring her that the game he's working on is very important to him. He suggests they postpone the trip for another time. That night, the tension between Tim and Olivia rises. She sits next to him, visibly sad and crying. The next morning, Tim wakes up to find Olivia packing to leave. She tells him she's traveling alone and isn't coming back. She believes this is the right decision because Tim will never change. He follows her out of the apartment, unable to believe she wants to break up. Olivia opens the door and is shocked to see a strange wall in front of them. She assumes Tim built it to keep her from leaving. Tim assures her he doesn't know anything about it and tries to push the wall to find a way out. Olivia goes into the living room and calls Tim's name. To their shock, a wall surrounds the building from every direction, even the windows are blocked. Tim tells her the wall might be related to the renovations. Olivia tries to call Friedman, but her phone has no signal. She asks Tim, frustrated, if his phone has a signal. Tim checks and discovers his phone has no signal or Wi-Fi. When he goes to check the router, he realizes the internet is also cut off. After that, Olivia tries to understand the material and construction of the wall, bewildered as to why someone would build a barrier with inconsistent shapes and measurements. Tim reminds her that she's the architect. Olivia decides to use a drill to try and make a hole in the wall, but the material is extremely solid and unaffected by the drill. Tim drills next to the door and discovers the barrier is even in the hallway outside the apartment. After many attempts, they discover that the wall has surrounded them from every direction. Suddenly, they hear the voices of their neighbors, Marvin and Anna. They break down the wall between their apartments. Marvin talks to them, terrified, asking if they know what's happening, because he can't contact Friedman and all communications are cut off. Tim tells him that they also have no communication. Marvin gets angry and decides to do the rest of the drugs he has. Tim asks him if the wall has also surrounded them. Marvin tells Tim he suspects Friedman is trying to kill them. Olivia asks them if they saw what happened. Anna replies that they don't understand anything because when they woke up, they discovered the wall was all around them. She's afraid they'll be trapped until they die. Olivia tries to reassure her, telling her they're not alone and everything will be all right. At that moment, Tim discovers that the water is cut off. He searches everywhere but can't find a single drop. He suggests to Olivia that they try every method, just like in a game. Olivia gets angry, telling him they're in a real situation, not a stupid game. She breaks down, terrified that they might be buried alive in this building. Tim assures her they're in a building in the middle of the city, and someone will surely notice what's happening soon. Olivia blames him, saying if they had traveled last night, none of this would have happened. She assures him that regardless, they are no longer together. Tim loses his temper and throws his phone at the wall. A little later, Tim discovers that a metal part of his phone stuck to the wall. Olivia comes out and apologizes, assuring him she didn't mean what she said. Tim explains that the wall is made of a magnetic-like material and that metal objects are attracted to it. Olivia gathers all the metal tools in the house and discovers that the magnetic field is strongest in 4 directions. Tim assures her there must be a way for them to deal with this material. Olivia gets close to the wall and places all the tools on the 4 strongest points. Suddenly, the wall begins to shake and all the tools stuck to it fly back at them. Tim manages to save her from getting hurt, but he gets hit, and many tools become lodged in his back. Afterward, Olivia begins to extract the metal from his back and stop the bleeding. A while later, they gather all the food in the house and start eating it cautiously, since they don't know how long they'll be trapped. Olivia asks Tim to reassure her and tell her that the wall will disappear by tomorrow. Suddenly, they hear a loud noise and a crashing sound from Anna and Marvin's apartment. They decide to break down the wall between them to see what's happening. When they go in, they notice bloodstains on the floor, and Anna is lying next to the bed. Olivia approaches and helps her. Suddenly, Marvin appears and tries to attack Tim, thinking he's hurting Anna. Olivia steps in and sprays him with pepper spray, and Tim starts to hit him because he thinks Marvin caused Anna's injury. Anna rushes to him, stopping him from hitting Marvin. She confirms that the blood on her hands is Marvin's because he got hurt while trying to help her. She tells them he would never hurt her. Tim then decides to tie Marvin's hands until he regains consciousness and comes down from the drugs. Tim notices a door with a "Do Not Enter" sign. He decides to enter and search the room. Olivia arrives, and he asks her to help him look for anything that can help them escape. Tim finds a hammer and tries to break the wall with it, but the wall is unaffected. Marvin regains consciousness and warns him that the hammer might break. Tim is surprised because Marvin was just trying to kill him, but it appears Marvin doesn't remember anything that happened. Olivia confirms that Marvin is right and that the hammer might be their only way out. She suggests they use it to break through the floor and go down to the second floor, then to the ground floor, and finally to the basement. Olivia starts to draw a blueprint of the building and tells them it was built in 1897 and has a bunker for air raids from World War II. Tim asks her, how will this bunker help them get out? Olivia explains that there are passages that lead to the metro tunnel network. Afterward, Tim, with Olivia's help, starts breaking through the floor. Anna tells them she saw videos of flying objects on TikTok last week. Tim suspects that aliens built the wall. Marvin confirms that he's suspicious of Friedman because he owns the building. Olivia says Friedman is a kind man. Marvin assures her that serial killers always pretend to be kind. Tim manages to break through the floor and calls out to their downstairs neighbor, Oswald. When no one answers, Tim decides to go down. At that moment, Oswald comes out with a gun and orders Tim to go back up. He is afraid they will steal his supplies, but Tim assures him they won't take anything and only want to get to the basement. However, Oswald tells him they can't do that through his apartment and orders him to go back upstairs again. At that moment, Oswald's granddaughter, Leah, comes out and tries to convince him that Tim, their neighbor, is not their enemy. Oswald tells her that after 3 days they will become enemies and might kill them for a single drop of water. Leah tells him that if they reach the basement, they will get out, and he knows it. She asks him to tell them that the building has a passageway underneath that leads to the tunnels and pleads with him to give them a chance. Oswald lowers his weapon and assures Tim that if any of them touches his granddaughter, he will kill them. A little later, they all go down, and Marvin takes his turn to break through. At that moment, Leah tries to contact her friend, but Olivia alerts her that there's no way to communicate. Leah tells her, sadly, that she had a fight with her friend yesterday and asked her to leave. Olivia tries to reassure her and promises they'll get out of here and she'll see her friend again. Leah tells them that the wall appeared instantly. She woke up at 4 a.m. to use the bathroom, and when she returned, she was surprised to find it was there out of thin air. At that moment, Tim sees a fire alarm and is shocked to see there's a camera inside. Tim asks Oswald if he was the one who installed this camera. Oswald assures him that Friedman installed all the alarm devices. Tim goes inside and breaks the device in the kitchen, discovering it also has a camera. Marvin confirms that this is intentional and someone is filming them and using them in a game, like Squid Game. He believes a rich person has them trapped and is enjoying their suffering. Anna assures them that Friedman is running this game. Olivia suggests they ask him and tells them his apartment is right next to theirs, separated by only a wall. Tim and Marvin break down the wall and enter Friedman's apartment. They are shocked to find him gruesomely murdered with both of his hands cut off and missing. Tim is surprised when he finds Friedman's phone with photos of the mysterious walls surrounding the building. They return to Oswald's apartment, and Marvin begins to break through the floor quickly to get to the basement. Leah asks if they found the killer. Tim assures her they searched everywhere and there's no trace of the killer or the severed hands. Tim approaches Oswald and asks him if he heard any strange sounds, but Leah interrupts and prevents him from pressuring her grandfather because he has Alzheimer's. She gives her grandfather his medicine and reminds him it's Saturday. Anna begins to look for an explanation for what is happening and suspects that all of this could be an illusion, or that they are connected to machines and artificial intelligence is controlling them. Marvin tells them this is the plot of the movie The Matrix. Anna confirms that it could have turned into a reality since it's an old movie. At that moment, Olivia sees news about the fire in the city of Haven and tells Tim the fire might be related related to what's happening. Suddenly, the floor collapses, and Tim, Marvin, and Anna fall to the ground floor. Olivia quickly goes down and helps Tim regain consciousness. On the other side, Leah tells her grandfather they need to find a way to get down. Oswald assures her his neck could break if he tried to go down and decides to stay in his home, but Leah tells him it's impossible for her to leave without him. Oswald gives her the gun to defend herself. Leah gets angry and assures him she won't leave without him, even if she has to carry him. They all go down to their neighbor Anton's apartment and are surprised to meet a strange person named Yuri, who tells them he's a friend of Anton's and asks them why they did that to the ceiling. Tim informs him that it's their only way to the basement to reach the tunnels. Yuri scoffs at them for not knowing what's happening and explains that there is pollution outside and the walls are in advanced technology and the only safety measure against potential attacks. Tim asks for proof of his theory. Yuri is surprised that they don't follow the news and explains he doesn't mean the regular media that's used to lying to people. He tells them that everything happening is a result of the deep state and the new world order. They don't seem to believe him, and Olivia asks him about Anton. Yuri leads them to Anton's room and tells them he had a heart attack and collapsed while standing in front of the wall. Yuri suspects his pacemaker stopped. They offer their condolences for his friend's death. Olivia suggests they continue what they were doing. Yuri tells them they should stay inside the building. Oswald tries to convince them that Yuri might be right and the air outside is all polluted. Tim tells him he'd rather die outside than stay trapped here. Anna thinks they should try to get out so they don't end up like Friedman. They all leave, but Leah stays behind and tries to read the equations Anton wrote. Yuri tells her that Anton died from the stress of trying to find an explanation for what happened. They all go down to the basement, and Yuri stays in Anton's apartment to watch them. Olivia reaches the door that leads to the tunnels, and when she opens it, she's shocked to find the wall blocking it as well. She breaks down because they're 2 meters underground. At that moment, a look of happiness appears on Yuri's face. Marvin gets angry and tries to break the wall, but Tim stops him, reminding him they still need the hammer. When Oswald notices that Marvin has lost his temper, he uses his gun to control him. Marvin pretends to calm down, then snatches the gun from Oswald and fires a shot at the wall. At that moment, Tim discovers that the bullet didn't penetrate the wall and could ricochet back at them at any moment. He tells them all to duck, but Oswald, being sick, can't move fast enough to avoid the bullet and gets shot. Leah breaks down and asks them to help her. Tim tries to stop the bleeding, but he fails. After a few seconds, Oswald dies. They go back to Anton's apartment and are met by Yuri, who tries to console them and tells them that if they had gone outside, they would have all died. He asks them to trust him and assures them that the backup safety systems will activate soon. He's sure the walls are purifying the air in a way they can't understand. Anna tells them there must be a reason for them all to be there together. She thinks there might be a connection between them and tells them that she almost died when she was 15 in a bike accident. She asks them if any of them have experienced a near-death experience, as this might be the connection between them. Leah tells them her mother died of cancer 2 years ago and she was with her when she died. Yuri shocks them by saying he killed a person. When he notices their surprise, he continues, saying he was in the line of duty as a police officer, but he's not proud of what he did. Leah accuses Marvin of causing her grandfather's death. Marvin tries to explain that what happened was just an accident. Leah gets angry and tells him that even if it was an accident, he's the one who caused it. Marvin breaks down and assures her he didn't know the bullets would bounce back at them. Olivia decides to tell them that she lost her baby. Tim gets angry and doesn't want her to talk about that subject because it doesn't concern anyone else, but Olivia tries to convince him it concerns her. Tim blames her and thinks it's not the right time. Olivia assures him that it is the right time for her because she doesn't know how long she'll be alive. She asks him to accept reality and say that they lost their daughter. Tim breaks down and finds the admission painful. He blames her because she decided to break up with him after 7 years just because he didn't have the courage to resign from his job. Olivia gets angry and tells him that their lives are more important than his job. She believes if they had traveled, they could have found themselves and tried to get past what happened to them. She blames him because after the miscarriage, they came back from the hospital and he sat in front of his computer to continue working, and the matter was over for him. Since then, they haven't talked about what happened. She believes their lives have turned into a series of unfulfilled promises. Tim breaks down and assures her that she's being unfair because he was working to get past the pain. Olivia tells him that she stayed strong for 2 years but can't continue and feels she can't breathe as long as she's with him. She reminds him that when she needed him, he abandoned her and built a wall around himself that no one could get through. He was no longer a part of her life. Tim goes to the bathroom and tries to calm down. He returns to his neighbors and tells them they shouldn't just sit around waiting for someone to rescue them. He suggests they go up to Friedman's apartment and look for documents, renovation plans, plans, surveillance videos, or anything that could explain what's happening. Yuri scoffs at them for wanting to do anything, and suggests they pass the time by playing poker or Monopoly. Leah reminds them that Anton might have written an explanation in his notes. Yuri assures them he checked them all and they're worthless, but Olivia isn't convinced. She suggests they distribute the notes among themselves and try to understand them. Olivia goes with Leah, who tells her that Anton was drawing the shapes of the blocks and was trying to understand the pattern they were arranged in. Olivia tells her that the 4 squares are arranged in the same way as they were in her apartment, and she was able to discover that the magnetic field is strongest at the squares Anton shaded. At that moment, Tim is with Anna and Marvin, searching Friedman's apartment. It seems they are not able to find anything useful. Suddenly, Tim discovers that the room they are in is smaller than the room in his apartment, which means there is a secret door. At the same moment, Marvin finds the remote that opens the secret door. Tim discovers that the remote has 10 numbers, which means they will have to try millions of times. He asks them to find a place with flour. Meanwhile, Leah tells Olivia that she found Anton's card and they discover he worked at a nano-defense organization, which uses nanotechnology to develop military weapons. Olivia asks Yuri if he knows anything about this organization. Yuri assures her that Anton is a programmer and never talked about his work. Olivia is suspicious that Anton didn't talk about his work because he wasn't allowed to. After that, Leah finds a broken laptop and asks Yuri about it. He tells her Anton broke it out of frustration. She finds a paper with a code in the trash. Yuri laughs at her and tells them that if they open the wall, lethal radiation will enter, and that would be his problem. On the other side, Tim uses the flour to lift Friedman's fingerprints from the remote and finds the numbers that will lead them to the password. Anna goes to call Olivia and Leah, but Leah decides to stay to continue searching through Anton's notes. Marvin is afraid that they will find the crazy killer who collects severed hands behind the door, but Tim ignores him. He enters the code and opens the door, revealing Friedman's secret room full of surveillance monitors. Anna, Olivia, and Yuri return. Anna is convinced that the cameras are the biggest proof that Friedman was the one running the game they became a part of. Olivia makes her understand that Friedman might just be a pervert who likes to spy on people. Tim starts to review the videos recorded by the surveillance cameras, and Yuri takes advantage of their preoccupation and leaves. At that moment, Tim discovers that the wall literally appeared in an instant. Meanwhile, Leah is reviewing Anton's notes and finds bruises on his neck, which suggests he was strangled. At that moment, Yuri enters. Tim notices Anton fell in the living room and not in his room, as Yuri had claimed. He realizes Yuri is gone and sends Marvin to look for him. Tim discovers from the videos that Anton had found a way to open the walls. Suddenly, he sees Yuri attacking Anton and killing him. Marvin enters Anton's room and is horrified to see Yuri burning Anton's notes. He is even more shocked when he discovers that Yuri killed Leah. Yuri apologizes to him and tries to convince him that this wall is here to protect them. Marvin calls him crazy. Yuri assures him that he won't allow them to break through the wall. At that moment, Tim is sure that Yuri is the one who killed Anton and might kill Marvin, so he moves quickly. When he arrives, he sees him trying to attack Marvin. Tim intervenes and manages to knock him down. Before Marvin shoots Yuri, Olivia stops him, thinking he might know a way to get out. Afterward, we see them with a tied-up Yuri who is unconscious. Tim starts searching Yuri's bag and finds a book about a third world war between the US and China, and the book talks about the end of the world. He gives the gun to Marvin and asks him to watch Yuri closely. Tim goes into where Olivia is sitting next to Leah's body and tries to console her. He tells her it's not her fault because she couldn't have known that Leah would be killed when she left her alone. Anna comes in and tries to console Olivia and doesn't understand why Yuri killed her. Olivia assures her that Leah must have found a way out, just like Anton. Tim goes to search through the remaining burned paper. Anna decides to review the surveillance camera footage. Olivia approaches Tim and tells him that the wall itself might be the code. Tim dismisses it, saying it's random and has no system. Olivia agrees, saying that's the point. Tim notices that the gaps have a pattern like Morse code, but in a more complex way. They understand that Anton was able to decipher these codes. Olivia tells him that Anton worked for the Nano Defense Organization. Tim is shocked to learn that this organization is in the city of Haven. Tim goes out and starts hitting Yuri to get him to say the code that will open the walls, but Yuri refuses to talk and assures them that one day they will thank him for preventing them from leaving. But Tim gets angry and threatens him with the gun, telling him he has two choices, talk or die. He asks him if the fire that happened at the organization in the city of Haven is related to what's happening to them. Yuri tells them that all he knows is that these walls are a defense system against all forms of biological, atomic, or chemical attacks. He assures them they are at war and is surprised that they can't believe him. Olivia tells him that Anton also didn't believe him. She gets close closer to him and asks him, why did Anton want to get out if everything outside was polluted? Yuri assures her that Anton was afraid there was a flaw in the defense system because of the fire. Marvin tells Yuri that if he has to choose between a genius programmer and a conspiracy theorist, he will definitely choose the programmer. Yuri mocks him and promises him he will stay trapped here. Marvin loses his temper and starts hitting Yuri. Tim intervenes and stops him and advises him to control himself, but Marvin believes that Yuri is trying to kill them, just like he killed Anton, the only person who could have gotten them out of here. At that moment, Anna calls out to them and tells them she discovered something. Tim and Olivia watch the surveillance camera videos, and Tim discovers that Anton was programming an app to open the walls. Even though Yuri broke Anton's phone that had the app, Tim decides to get the phone and try to fix it. Tim understands that the gaps aren't a code but a visual symbol that the phone can read. Tim transfers the app data to another phone. He goes down in front of the wall in Anton's room and uses the app, discovering that the squares that attracted the metal resemble buttons, and the app directs light in the form of electromagnetic waves toward them. Suddenly, the nature of the cubes in the wall changes, and Anna gets close and puts her hand in and tells them she feels warmth. Olivia tries to warn her, but she doesn't listen. In an instant, the wall solidifies again, and Anna can't get her hand out. The wall pulls her in, and Marvin and Tim try to pull her out, but she dies in their arms. In the moment when they are all in shock, Yuri starts to mock them and tells them he won't let any of them out. Marvin loses his temper and goes back and kills him, and in seconds decides to kill himself. After a while, a frustrated Tim sits and decides to apologize to Olivia because he wasn't able to support her when they lost their daughter. He assures her he wasn't able to talk because he felt like something inside him was broken and he couldn't fix it. Olivia tells him she needed him to talk to her, not to ignore her for 2 years. She assures him that there was a time when she felt like she was gradually losing her life and believes he buried them both with their dead daughter. Tim gets close to her and repeats his apology. Olivia assures him that she wanted to start a family. Tim tells her she would have been a beautiful mother and believes she fought for their relationship while he was being an idiot. Olivia assures him she just did what people do when they love. Afterward, they decide to try again. Tim begins to try new possibilities. Olivia alerts him that each button flashes a specific number of times. They discover that the video shows the flashes, and this way they'll know the exact order of the buttons. They decide to review the video and are able to figure out the order of the buttons. They go back to the wall, and Olivia is afraid that everything outside is polluted. Tim tells her the opposite is also possible and he thinks the risk is necessary. At that moment, Yuri suddenly appears and attacks Tim, knocking him unconscious. Olivia tries to run away from him and falls into the basement. Before Yuri can get to her and kill her, Tim arrives and throws him down to save Olivia. They manage to escape from him to the wall at the beginning of the tunnels. Yuri follows them and tries to kill Tim. When Tim gives up and asks Olivia to open the wall, get out, and leave him behind, Olivia returns and hits Yuri with the hammer and helps Tim so they can get out together. Afterward, they reach the gate and go out to the street. They discover that all the buildings in the city are surrounded by the same walls. They go to Olivia's car and hear a radio broadcast that the German city of Hamburg is in a state of emergency and the fire that happened at the Nano Defense Organization caused a major malfunction and activated the secret defense system. The authorities still can't determine if the fire was natural or an act of sabotage. The announcer advises the people who are listening and were able to reach safety to stick together. Olivia begins her journey with Tim, finally ready to get past what happened to them in the 2 years since they lost their daughter.